Well, okay, so what are we going to do with this leaf and these berries? I think we should do something with them, don't you? I do. Let's see. Okay, let's start with this leaf. I'll take my brush. I have some permanent rose on this brush, and the reason I'm using permanent rose is I want to give that top part of that leaf a little warm reflected light. So now I'm going to come in with my yellow to just a tiny bit, not very much. And then my yellow, I'll bring that in. Whoops, I forgot I've got my paper flat. Oh well, I think that'll be okay. And I'm just bringing that, so you can see this is turning kind of orange. The permanent rose and the Winsor yellow make a really nice orange. Let's see, let's do a little more yellow in here. That'll turn that more of a yellow green. And then my Winsor blue green shade, I'm going to blend that right in. Right, leave a little bit of light in there. And how about if we come in with a little more of the yellow? Turn this more yellow-green up here. That's nice. And then bring in the blue down here. Blue, blue, blue. And I am going to touch in some red, as if that berry is reflecting right onto the leaf. And we'll just let that sit for a minute. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my paper, sorry about that, and bring myself back up into a slant. Not myself, my paper. I'm going to work on this berry, and I'm going to start that berry out with some yellow. I'm going to let it blend right into the leaf, that yellow, and I want the whole top side of that berry to be yellow. And then rose, and I'll just come all the way across it, like that. Rose. Let's do a little more yellow. Let's push that yellow right into the rose, which will turn it orange. More rose down in here. We'll just let that bleed right into the leaf, that color. How about here? Let's bring this shadow in. So I like crossing barriers. So don't always let all of your objects in your painting remain isolated. Let them blend together a little bit. Let this happen a little bit. Let that area bleed together. Let this kind of get into a murky, shadowy color. That's all okay. Let's come in with our yellow again. So it's a repetition of that same approach. Yellow on the top, rose, bring the rose in over here, right over those highlights. And more rose over here. Look at, I love that blue peeking out down there. So pretty, so beautiful. Some more of that, a repetition of that idea. And then we'll just stop. I am thinking of having a white background here. So we'll have some color in the center, but I think I'm going to have it feel like more of a cutout look to it in the finish. Look at how gorgeous that is. I love it so much. I'm going to come back into my leaves. So the first area that I started with is starting to dry, but it's still damp enough that I can bring in a little bit of highlighting to a little bit of lifting. So back up where my brush is almost vertical. Let's see if we can kind of lift a little bit of that pigment. I am going to do at least one more pass over this leaf. What they call glazes. So glazing is when you paint multiple layers on your paper, and but you let each layer dry before you apply the next layer. So I'm just lifting a little bit of pigment out here, and that creates some of that sense of veins. Let's push a little blue back in here. I'll let it touch into that berry. I'm going to come back here to the top of this berry, using my little finger again to keep my brush up high. I'm sort of doing a little circular motion to lift out some of my pigment. Depending on how big of a lift you want to make, is the size of the brush that you want to pick. So this is kind of a medium-sized brush. You can get a 4 or a 2 and do some very tiny lifts if you prefer. That's nice, I like that. Let's pull out some reflection back here. Just leave that little bit of reflection there. Here, pull out my highlight. Right side. Soften this little edge a little bit. Just by manipulating the edge of that berry so that it'll kind of float into this one back in the shadows. And then one more lift back there. How about a little lift in here? I don't know if I can get that or not. That's a little reflection back in there. I may end up getting that a little bit later. So there we have that. We'll do another glaze over this leaf. Again, Robert Simmons White Sable. This is a number 10. The tiniest little bit of red. Here, if that tiny bit of red. Right up in here. And then into my yellow. The yellow is going to be the predominant color on this sleeve, with a tiny bit of yellow and a little bit of blue. I want it to be pretty bright. And here's my blue. This blue has a little bit of yellow mixed into it, so it's more of a blue-green or a aqua. Just let that merge into the yellow. One more yellow back in here. So it's kind of all about ratios. How much yellow, how much blue, how much red. And it depends on what you want your end result to be. Okay, we'll just let that sit for now. Let's go back into this area. Oh, we'll do a little bit more in these areas, and maybe come up into these berries here. Also back in here. Well, I think I'll just work in that area right now. But before I do, I'll just add a little bit more water in there. Okay, that's good. Okay. Got my little finger propping up my brush. It keeps my hand steady and keeps the brush vertical. I like my edges to be pretty nice. Not always do you have to have your edges perfect, but I do like it when my edges are nice. I lost my place. Let's let that just merge. There. I'm going to do a little light spot. This is another one of those stems. Permanent rose. I love the color in the photo here. It's kind of a violet, but you know it's a leaf back there. It's but it's a shadowy leaf. It's probably an old leaf, and kind of just tucked back in there. And I just want it to recede, and so by painting it with my blue and my red, it will tend to recede into the background. If you're a beginner, and you're nervous about painting more than one area at the same time, like you're not sure how fast it's going to dry, you're not sure of what you're doing, just take it piece by piece. That's okay. But as you learn and grow, try to incorporate more than one area at a time. It'll make your paintings look more beautiful, more professional, but maybe not right at first. You know, that's something you may want to see, just see what your comfort level is on that, and push yourself when you're ready. A little clear water here, a little clear water here.